Hi folks, how you doing? Today we're gonna see a short game played by one of the most creative and attacking chess world champions of the history, the big Misha Tal from Riga, which is nowadays the capital city of Latvia. He was world champion for a short period of time. He defeated Botvinnik, but later Botvinnik, taking advantage of the rematch system, got his world crown back. But he was really a shock to the World Championship match, to the elite chess in the 60s, because he was a very creative, very imaginative player and used to sacrifice almost everything he could to get amazing attacks. Really a strangely strong combinative style, and well, it was almost impossible to get bored with the game of Mikhail Tal. He's truly a legend, and due to his health problems, he couldn't be as successful as he could have been in tournament competitions. But anyway, he he's remembered as one of the legends of attacking chess. In this game, we're gonna see a game. In this video, we're gonna see a game that received a prize, a brilliancy prize, in the candidates tournament in Yugoslavia in 1951. Here we got Tal with white pieces against Smyslov, a former world champion, another very strong player. E4, C6, the Caro-Kann, and Tal goes ahead with D3. Not really that common move, very strange, just to get out of theory and to mix it up. Now D5 and knight D2. The idea is, well, if black takes here, white will take probably with the pawn, and now after normal moves like if something like e5, knight g3, the point is that black cannot put a knight on c6, imitating more or less the Spanish or the open games. And now the c6 move seems to be the pawn on c6 is out of place, while this knight is not that bad situated here. But this did not happen. Smyslov here played e5, just taking the control of trying to take control the center. Now knight gf3. This reminds me of some kind of King's Indian attack if g3, bishop g2 is played. Now knight d7 and d4. Strong fight for the center. All the pawns are in the e4, d4, e5, d5 squares. D takes e4 in this case was played. Another possibility was to take on d4, but now as that pawn is not going to go anywhere, so for the time being, taking on d5. And after c takes, knight takes, white is going to play again against an isolated queen pawn, which is a matter of task, of course, but well, some people do not like to have it, so probably in this game Smyslov was not in the mood of playing with an isolated queen pawn. That's why he took on e4. After knight takes e4, he takes d4. Tal takes with the queen. Now there is no knight going to c6 and winning a tempo, so he already has lots of development, 3 pieces developed, and although he has not pawns to control the center, well, his pieces are controlling the center pretty well. Now some logical moves: knight gf6, bishop g5, pinning, bishop e7, long castle, short castle. An opposite side castling always guarantees an exciting game, and moreover, when we have a magician of tactics like Michel Tal in the board. Now, but in this position, I think white is better because he has much more development. He only has to put this bishop in a proper square to have a complete development, and he's going to be faster in the attack against the black king. On the other hand, black still has to solve the problem of this bishop. He has to move this knight once again, and well, although this is not clear win at all, white must be better here. His game is more comfortable. So here, knight d6. Well, there are lots of possible moves here, lots of plans. Tal decides to go for the center, knight d6. Now queen a5, attacking the pawn on a2. Also attacking the bishop, although it's protected with the knight, but okay, activating the queen. Here bishop c4, quite interesting move, developing the last piece. Made just targeting this f7 pawn, which could be potentially target, and connecting rooks. Now white has a complete development and is ready to attack. Of course, in this case, king b1 was the solid option, just protecting the pawn with the king and putting the king in a more prophylactic place. But it's Tal playing. Tal is in the house, and you're not going to expect a very solid game by his part. He's going to go for the attack. b5, attacking the bishop. And what do you do here? Well, you go back with the bishop. You just attack the queen for the time being. Now queen a6 was played. It seems that going to c7 wasn't going to be that great, because white could sacrifice a couple of pieces for a pawn and a rook on f7. After knight g5 check, for instance, king g8, rook h1, and white has compensation because he has full control of the center. Both of his rooks are in the d and e open files, and he has black king is a little bit weak, and black has still to solve development problems, so the piece here is compensated, the sacrifice. Instead, Smyslow went to a6, and here Tal decides to go ahead with the sacrifices, to go ahead with the mess, and knight a5, attacking the bishop, of course, and letting his own bishop to be under attack on c4. Here really is not that great looking move. I just struggle to understand why bishop d8 could be better than bishop c5. There are lots of crazy possibilities which we are going to see now after this move. The game is a complete mess, but bishop on d8 doesn't seem to be a great job. I mean, it's blocking the communication between the rooks. It's kind of underdeveloping a piece, and well, I don't know. Bishop c5, to my not expert eyes, look to be more logical, because it's attacking the queen. It's protected. The bishop is protected by the knight, and you're still attacking the bishop on c4. Now we're gonna see a couple of lines in which we'll see this game could go completely crazy. Now queen e4, queen f4, and b takes c4. This is pure sacrifice of a piece. Bishop c3, just protecting b2 and giving a room to the king when the queen takes on a2 and checks on a1. Queen takes, and now white could start to must start to attack the black king, otherwise he's down lots of material. Knight takes g7. Here, if king takes, now rook takes, and this knight is pinned. And if bishop takes on d7, queen g4 check, white is going to take on f6 and probably checkmate black king, so this is not very advisable. Instead, rook d8 seems to be more forced, and now knight goes to h5, attacking the knight on f6 with 3 pieces. What to do here? Now queen a1 check seems forced, otherwise I don't know, black can just cannot go, for instance, to e8. Now check, and I'm taking the rook. So checking on a1, rook king d2, nothing else, and now queen a4 is suggested by the engineers to keep holding. And here we got a couple of possibilities I have more or less analyzed. Now first one, king c1, and the engine says this is draw, but by repetition, because it seems to be the best to the unhuman eyes, but of course there are lots of other moves. Queen g5 check seems promising, because here king f8, and now this is going to end up into kind of repetition, because here, surprisingly enough, rook h1 is check is a blunder, because knight e5 just covering the check and discovering a check on the white king. And now after the king is gone to e2, which is forced, black is going to take on c2 with check, and this seems to be very green for white. So if white checks on h6 after king f8, it seems there is nothing more for white than a repetition of move, with knight f5, etc. But instead, queen g7 check is possible, king e8. Now rook h e1, and now if knight e5, white can give a piece back, and when bishop takes on d4, he can take on f6 checking, and king must go here to e7. Now knight g8 check, and the rook takes, and I mean, if the rook takes on g8, an intermediate move, rook takes e5 check. Of course, if bishop takes, the queen takes, and this is, and after, I mean, after this, the king is going to be aparted, and the d file will also be controlled, and this seems to be very bad for black. And what else did I have here prepared? Yes, this was the idea. Now knight d4 is covering and keeps attacking the black king. Now this is the clue move, taking on f7 with check, and here knight g8 check, and this intermediate move. Anyway, all of this did not happen because Smyslov just went to d8, got away with the bishop to d8. Now queen h4 was played, just keeping the pressure on the black king side. B takes c4, while black finally takes the piece, and now white has to prove that he has enough or more than enough compensation for the piece. Queen g5 with the subtle threat of checkmating black in just one move. Now knight h5, g6 was proposed to be a refutation to this sacrifice some years ago, but it seems after something like bishop c3, attacking the black dark squares here. Queen takes a2, knight h6 check, king g7, knight h4 is a nice move. And now queen a1 check, king d2, queen a6, and knight f4 to f5 check. Black goes back, and king e2, rook e8 check, king f1, and white has lots of threats here. The dark squares are absolutely controlled by this bishop. The knight on f6 is pinned, and white is threatening to take on f7 and cause lots of troubles here. But it seems that knight h5 was not a bad move at all, the move that Smyslov played. Here white went on to play knight h6 check, king h8, took on h5 the piece back, but now black took on a2. Of course, if black takes on h6, now bishop c3 check, and anyway, black is going to be in lots of trouble, because if, for instance, f6, queen takes on h6, and his idea is to put the knight on g5 and threaten to checkmate black, because this pawn on f6 is pinned. This bishop once again on c3 is very strong. So queen takes a2 was played here after queen takes h5, and now bishop c3, and already black is here, it seems here is in trouble, because this bishop is going to be very strong, and adding to that the knight on h6 and the queen here, black is really in lots of trouble. Now knight f6 is allowing, and in fact more or less forcing a more or less spectacular queen sacrifice, taking on f7. Queen a1 check was played. Of course, black does not want to get checkmated with queen rook e8 check, because this is the typical checkmate with the knight on f7. So queen a1 check was played here, and after king d2, black is going to go into an endgame which seems lost. Rook takes, and after knight takes f7 check, king g8, taking on a1, takes on f7, and white is up the exchange. And moreover, other than that, black has no coordination between his pieces. White pieces are much better developed and situated on the board. Black has a couple of very weak pawns here on c6 and c4, and white should have really no problem in winning this, as we will see. Knight e5 check was played, king e6, and the knight just takes on c6. Now white is up an exchange and a pawn, and although black has a bishop pair, it's not going to be enough to save the game. Knight e4 check was played, king e3 attacking the knight. Bishop b6 check. Tal just put the bishop on d4, and after which Smyslov resigned, and but he could also have taken on d4, after which, of course, bishop b7 was going to be played, regaining the piece and activating a little bit more the bishop pair. But anyway, some very simple moves like king f4, takes f3 or something, I don't know, rook h1, now f3, and white is going to have no problem. He's up an exchange and a pawn, and he's going to be able to convert this without much problem. So there we go with a spectacular game of the ever creative Mikhail Tal. He was a very legendary world chess champion and remembered as one of the best attacking chess players in the world. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.